Hello and welcome to Region Weather Live, your YouTube source for weather across the Dakotas and Minnesota. I am meteorologist Brad Warner. We have a bit of a mild and quiet weekend this weekend, so that's going to be great, but we do have a little more of an active pattern taking shape into next week, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at not only the weekend, but what we have in store for next week. And we're going to start by taking a look at the upper level winds here. And this weekend, we have this dome of high pressure over us, which is going to allow some of that warmer air to work its way in from the south. So we're really looking like the weekend is not going to be too bad at all because we're going to be seeing some milder temperatures. Now, as we go through the remainder of the weekend, you can see that kind of flattens out a little bit. We've got a little stronger system that works its way onshore out on the west coast by Saturday night into early Sunday morning. Most of the energy remains down to the south as we get more so into Sunday. And then we see these little pockets, these little areas, these low pressure systems that come ejecting out of the Rockies and move to the northeast over the course of next week. Here we are a Sunday night. And we go into Monday, we can see this little system move quickly off to the north and east. And then by the time we get to Tuesday night and into early Wednesday morning, here comes another one ejecting out. And that one's also expected to move off to the northeast as well. We switch over to a map that kind of shows some of the rotation at the upper levels of the atmosphere, and that when you get that rotation occurring, it creates lift within the atmosphere. So anytime you see these areas, these purple and the blues, we'll call them purple. Here's some blues a little bit back in through here. But anytime you get that out ahead of that, we're kind of looking at areas of lift. So notice, of course, we see these right along the trough systems as they move eastward. So really, anywhere within here, it's possible that we could see just a little bit of a light flurry or a little sprinkle here and there as we go through the weekend, as we get just these small little blips in the upper levels of the atmosphere here, as they just kind of quickly move off to the northeast. And that's really kind of before this main system, this, the bigger, the larger systems that pull out of the Rockies. So we might see a few little spotty areas of flurries, or like I said, some sprinkles throughout the weekend here and there, but nothing real significant, nothing to really get too worked up about. It's really these other ones that come out that we'll talk a little bit more about. Now, the main thing we're going to notice with this first system that comes out of the Rockies Sunday night and begins to affect our region more so on Monday is it's going to have a lot of warm air associated with it. So it looks like for the most part, this first system really should be mostly rain with this. They might bump into a few areas on the far north end that could maybe have a little bit of freezing rain associated with it. But for the most part, this first one, as we go through the day on Monday and into Monday night, looking mostly like a rainmaker. Now, the second disturbance that comes out Tuesday night and begins to affect our area more so on Wednesday has a little more cold air associated with it. So as this moves off to the northeast, we could see some areas picking up some accumulating snow as this moves off through the northeast. This is Wednesday evening and in through the overnight hours Wednesday night and into early Thursday morning. Now, with this one, if this particular system maybe moves just a little bit further north than what is currently predicting, then of course, we're going to be talking about a little bit more snow in some of these areas and maybe a little more heavy snow associated with it. It just depends on where exactly the track is. But for the most part, from what we're seeing with the models, is that this low pressure should stay off to the south just enough to where, we'll probably pick up some light snow, but at this point, it doesn't look like we're going to be getting any type of major storm system out of it. And then, of course, we're just kind of stuck into that kind of active pattern. I mean, it's possible. If you take a look at this model as we get into next weekend, there might be another little system that kind of comes out of the Rockies and moves to the northeast as well. And the pattern, for the most part, is just got everything clipping down to the southeast, mainly southeastern parts of Minnesota. But should that shift at all, obviously that would bring more snow into parts of Minnesota, possibly South Dakota as well. So just bears a little watching, but we're definitely into more of an active pattern as we get into next week. All right, but the good thing is we're going into the weekend. Weekend looks pretty good. And here's what the forecasted high temperatures are looking like. Here for Friday, we're looking at teens and 20s in the east to 40s and around the 50s down in the western parts of South Dakota. Saturday's looking even better, as most areas are going to be in the 20s and 30s, low to mid 30s for some of you down into southern parts of Minnesota, southeast South Dakota. Of course, then you're looking at the 50s once again in southwest South Dakota. And look at this, folks. Sunday's looking even better, as we're talking high temperatures in the upper 20s. That's on the low end. To many of you, looking like you're going to get at or above freezing. So wow, it's looking like Sunday's really going to be a nice day. And then as that ridge kind of flattens out and we kind of prepare ourselves for these next little trains of systems moving through us, it cools off just a bit. We get back into the 20s and 30s, a little more for some of you on Monday, but we're still remaining kind of mild in the eastern parts of Minnesota, southwest South Dakota. Tuesday, now mind you, we have that first system that's kind of straggling off to the north and east, so that's going to be pulling in a little more cold air on the back end of that. So of course, we're only looking at high temperatures in the teens for some areas, but still remaining above freezing down in southwest South Dakota. And then about the same for Wednesday, it looks like teens to 20s, a little warmer in the southwest. And Thursday, kind of back on repeat again. Teens, 20s, warmer in the southwest once again. So the weekend overall is looking pretty good, obviously. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on these couple of systems that roll through on Monday, and then again as we get into Tuesday night and Wednesday. So Monday, there's that possibility of maybe some slippery roadways if it does get into some of that colder air and is allowed to have maybe some more of that freezing rain in parts of southeastern parts of Minnesota. So just kind of keep that in mind as we get into Monday, that's a possibility. And then with that next little storm system that comes through, mainly on Wednesday, possibility of some snow, and it's just a matter of how far north will that system get and how far north will some of that snow get. So just a couple things that we'll have to watch as we get into next week. But before then, we're looking like it's really going to be not a bad weekend at all. So if you haven't already, and if you want to keep up with the Dakotas of Minnesota and what's going to happen with these next couple of storms next week, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the thumbs up button, folks. Hit the like button. Shows a little love for me. I sure appreciate that. Leave a comment down below if you haven't already. Let me know where you're watching from. That's always nice to see. And really, folks, that's all I got for you this week. So we will see you on Sunday night, the way it's looking right now. So until then, for Region Weather Live, I am meteorologist Brad Warner, and everybody have a good day.